This is Rooted Cosmic Soul, Season 2 of Broom Closet Recordings, Healing the Patriarchy-within, and the here and the there, offering rememberings in times of chaos, confusion, love, and belonging. I am Deidre, your sometimes reluctant but always growing guide. In this season, I'll be sharing channeled and conjured episodes related to healing the patriarchy within. There's a link in the description to the digital book titled the same. If you haven't already, please subscribe and like. This will help me grow the channel and therefore grow my ability to continue these offerings with dedicated focus. I deeply appreciate you being here. I figured since I'm dedicating Season 2 of Broom Closet Recordings to this idea of and process of healing the patriarchy within, that I would start Episode 1 with sharing some thoughts around boundaries and protections, specifically boundaries and protections when on a spiritually based healing journey. So I guess technically healing the patriarchy within doesn't have to be a spiritual journey. The way in which I've designed my idea of healing the patriarchy within, it very much is, because it's coming from the premise that I believe we are inherently spiritual beings. It is particularly important to think about your boundaries and protections when on this spiritual journey. And so talking about boundaries and protections, thinking about it, considering it, can be really helpful to the process, to healing the patriarchy within. So there's kind of two places I can go with boundaries and protections, like in the real material world, in terms of boundaries around people, time, protecting my time, and then also spiritually, energetically. So the spiritual and energetic boundaries and protections one can set up when going deeply inward. Self-inquiry based journey is a journey within, which means it's a journey within the universe, within source. You are source. Source is you. It is a connection with your deepest energetic parts. And so some boundaries and protections to consider and remember are your chakras. Like chakra care, I think, can be one of the most important aspects. And so that's both just making sure that a basic understanding of the 7 chakras is great. If you want to go beyond that, just know that those are considered the major chakras in the body. And then there are other chakras that go all the way above your crown all the way up. And there's your Earth Star chakra beneath your, 6 inches beneath your energetic self. And then there's minor chakras all throughout the body. So it's really up to you of like what you want to learn or know about. In this case of boundaries and protections, I think that if you're feeling overwhelmed and you don't have time to do a lot of research, like the basic 7 from root to crown can be really helpful. I have multiple videos on my channel. When I first started my channel back in 2023, I want to say, that were designed to just help people have a basic understanding of what I call spiritual sits. And then within that, I did a lot of offerings around having an understanding of how to care for your chakra, how to care for your auric fields. And so I think that can be really helpful to know and to do, like protecting your time. And like, don't assume that you need to have a half hour every morning to go through your chakras. Would it be helpful if you had that time? Yeah, would it definitely start shifting the energy, your energy, away from the patriarchy and into the sacred? If you could make that time, absolutely. And also you can start somewhere, like if all you have is the intention when you wake up to really be like, yes, I want to clear, cleanse, charge, center my chakras, and visualize that from crown, from root to crown or crown to root or whatever. Let it be enough. Let what you can do be enough and start from there. Also knowing one thing that really helped me when I first started on my healing journey was learning that I can determine how open or closed my chakras are. So think of it like either like the aperture on a camera, it opens and closes. Like you can decide how open or closed you want your chakra to be in a given moment. You can also think about it in terms of like percentage. Like I just need 20% open. There's times where I'm sitting and I have to, and sometimes I forget, but I usually remember in those moments where there's so much information coming down into my crown chakra that it's just too many thoughts. And they're not busy 3D thoughts. They're clearly downloads, but it's a bit too much. That's what I'm talking about, right? So you can tell your chakra shut down a little bit so that fewer messages come in at a time. Now, with the busy thoughts, busy mind thoughts that are, coming in from energy around you, that's also a boundary and protection thing around setting up. That could be, well, when I think about that, like that could go in all kinds of directions, right? The thoughts coming in because the kids are loud, the dog is barking, right? The neighbor has to do gardening all day long, like leaf blower kind of stuff all day long. And so the idea around boundaries and protections is trying to figure out like what choices are before me and how to handle that. Another way to think about boundaries and protections on a spiritually based healing journey is around your time, around your space, around what you will allow and tolerate in proximity of you, how much news is happening, how much social media am I on, what type of people and the energy that they are giving out am I exposing myself to, and what protections can I put in place, whether that is carving out specific time to engage what's happening with me, for me, in me on a spiritually based healing journey. And then also like boundaries, like there are certain ways of being that humans have right now that I just have no interest in engaging. So I set up a boundary around that. I don't watch really violent films. I don't take in any books. Right now I'm reading more than I am watching TV, and even books. I like fiction, but I don't take in any fiction that glorifies violence, particularly violence against women, children, elders. I'm very protective of what comes into myself from the outside, and I create really clear boundaries around that, right? So even in the tangible world, I had a really good friend who wanted me to go see a movie. And the idea of the movie I loved. I loved the idea of what the director did and why the director did it and how they paid for the film and made it their own so it could be their own voice. And then I looked up what it was about. And I was like, I would love to support this Black filmmaker, but I can't. I can't put that into my body right now. Those are boundaries and protections that can be helpful to consider when on a spiritually based healing journey. When on a spiritually based healing journey, your relationship to the moon might deepen. And so boundaries and protections could be around if there's a particular phase of the moon that you feel even more heightened. It's just learning that and setting up whatever you need to engage that or to diminish it. The other thing with a spiritually based healing journey, particularly what I'm talking about, which is self-inquiry based, means that deepened relationship with the moon also means an increased receptivity. So if you're not an empath already, because I think we're all empaths, it's just some of us feel more. We're feelers. When I was young, I had this very insensitive professor call me a sponge. Didn't give me any help on what to do with it, was basically demeaning me. And now I realize that it's a superpower. But I know it's a superpower and I know how to handle it as a superpower because I know boundaries and protections. So when that increased receptivity or feeling of empathic abilities, nature increases, exploring what do you need to do energetically to protect and boundary. I met this random medium once years ago who introduced me to the idea of bubbling. And it was one of the greatest gifts a random stranger has ever given me. Now, she triggered me. She was a medium, and I didn't ask for the interaction, but my dearly departed father was hounding her, and she decided to, come at me with his messages after, his death. And it was so amazingly triggering. I completely disassociated, went out of my body. It was at a nightclub. It was wild. And she found me. She could feel me floating above my body. She found me and she taught me in that moment how to bubble. And it was one of the greatest gifts. And so, bubbling, this idea of like energetic shield, visualizing your auric field and creating boundaries around that auric field that stop anything from coming in, going out. Like you can decide the color, you can decide how thick, all that kind of stuff. And again, I have videos on that. In my early years here on YouTube. The other thing that I started doing back then was even when I had to go into the world, I used to have to get on the train and go into another city to go to work. There was so much energy. I started, imagining my boots, my shoes, my jacket, my rings, if I was wearing a hat, my jacket, all of that stuff were armor. And just the intention of it being that made it that. It was such a shift for me to have this understanding of the power of our thoughts and our intentions. And that's a part of boundaries and protections that one can consider, particularly on a spiritually based healing journey. For folks who are engaging my book, I did do a little bit of channeling with the transmuting the eye, with my transmuting the eye deck. And the two journeys that came up were journey 11, forgiveness, and journey 6, polarity. And so if you're watching this, the boundaries and protections were pulled you in, the title pulled you in, and you have the book and or the numbers mean something to you. You might want to check out those journeys. In there, there's the imagine, create, foster section. There's some cultivating contexts there. And then also lots of prompts to deepen one's engagement. I'm looking down because I did some divination before stepping into this, and I want to make sure that I covered everything. If you are into plants, consider researching a plant called Angel's Trumpet. That is going to be around, I'm thinking particularly around the spiritual aspect of that plant and its connection to ancestors. So some of your boundaries and protections when on this spiritually based healing journey, perhaps you can call on to ancestors or guides who have departed to be part of your spiritual team, your protective guards, guardians. If that's something you're into, it doesn't have to be. And then lastly, just remember that, boundaries and protections when on a spiritually based healing journey, you're the high priestess in this journey. You have all the power, everything you need to create boundaries and protections, whether in the material world or in the energetic world, you have. And that is your intention, attention, your perceptions, and consistency. Just be consistent. All right. I hope that's super helpful to folks. I appreciate you. See you soon. This is Rooted Cosmic Soul, Season 2, Healing the Patriarchy-within, a Broom Closet recording, offered with infinite love and gratitude. Thank you for watching, listening, co-creating the energy necessary for this time and space to exist. My energy stays here. Your energy stays there. Return when your spirit moves you to do so. Same Bruja time. Same Bruja channel. Hey there. If you liked this content, please check out my new book called Healing the Patriarchy-within. It's a detailed process guide designed to help folks find, explore, understand the definitions, beliefs, and behaviors that are inside of us as individuals, because some of them are the same between us and some of them are different. But those definitions, beliefs, and behaviors that are complicit with, that uphold the patriarchy. And it's a process guide to help see, sense, and shift those with a lot of compassion, grace, and love. Having patriarchy within doesn't matter about your gender, your class, your race. It's in all of us because of the wide existence of the patriarchy globally and for multiple millennia. And this process guide offers 22 very specific interweaving intersectional journeys to explore that from your eye, sprinkled with 24 different sacred feminine goddesses, energies, guides to support you as you're healing the patriarchy within. And then more than 44 different individual prompts, portals, activations, activities to further deepen your understanding of where the eye is and how to engage in a healing process. So please check that out if you are so inclined. There's a link in the description, always in all my videos. And also you can go directly to my website, djbarber.com. Thanks again. Also consider subscribing, liking, sharing whenever you find content on my channel that you've enjoyed. It's a beautiful way to support creators of free content and to help build my channel and get me out of the hidden realms of YouTube, because my content is that which is not meant to be brought to light, but you can help be one of those who help shine light on it. So thank you so much. Appreciate you. Unfettered and infinite love and gratitude.